We all got that at the same time. I'm Ed. I'm the director of Faith in Kids. We've actually got another director now because we're growing. So I do the ministry bit, and brilliant Chris does the operations bit. We're joined by other team members who you'll meet later and some special guests. This is the big day out. So if you've come for some sort of pottery class, I'm afraid you're in the wrong place, but this is better than a pottery class. So if you've come for a pottery class, please stay. The big day out exists to bring those who are about children's and families ministry together. So it could be that you've been sent here against your will. I hope you're involved passionately in children's or families ministry, maybe a bit of youth ministry too. And we get some church leaders who join us because they're passionate enough about kids and youth ministry, and we all wish we had more. We are about bringing those people together, and we are about training, equipping, and encouraging you to do what you do so well, okay? It's a pleasure to have you. People are still telling us where you are because you can't stop the geography enthusiasm. Let me pray as we start while others join us and others get excited about geography. Father, we thank you that we are coming together as brothers and sisters. We are coming from everywhere because although we may not have met one another, we are united in Christ. We are part of his global church, and nothing and no one will stop him growing his people. I pray, Father, that these next few hours would be an opportunity for us to learn how Christ is growing his church and to learn from one another how we can do that better. Amen. Amen. I can't help but tell you I'm sharing my screen because it's sort of how my brain works, I think, which is my mouth works too often. Now this, this is my son's nativity play from the last time we had one. Is that going to be 2 years ago or 3 years ago? I lose track. My son is the one with the largest ears. I think he's in a bowl of Christmas. It was one of those nativity plays where you're not quite clear what's happening. I think we mixed up Christmas in the bowl, I think. And my son had very big ears. This broadly, as we plan an adventurous Christmas, this picture for me is broadly what I think children's and families ministry comes to mind first. And if you look carefully, there are some tea towels on heads and some sheep. I wanted to talk to you about the shepherds as we started, but I'm aware that as soon as I say shepherds and Christmas, this picture is what you have in mind. My friend's little son, Reuben, is one of those sheep. We have just been, as a team, we have been working on the characters of Christmas. Yesterday, I was recording a podcast about Zachariah and Elizabeth. And I was struck how much I love the Christmas characters. I don't think I love every character in the Bible in quite the same way. But for instance, Elizabeth and Zachariah, you just think you want them in your church. They are those godly older saints. And I love to sit with them. I love the wise men for their reckless enthusiasm. I love them for the way they speak to power with total confidence because they know why they're there. I love Mary and Joseph because they were teenagers and they did the right thing. And I can only imagine how hard they found it. I have a particular soft spot for the shepherds. I have a soft spot for the shepherds because I just think they must have been the most baffled of all those characters. To start your shift in a field, probably they lived in that field. They really did not have any expectations that their night would be quite so different as it was. Shall we look at the story of the shepherds? Just a few verses together. I've put the bit we're looking at on the screen. If you want to turn to it, you can. Luke 2 says this to us. And there were shepherds living out in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flocks at night. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Today in the town of David, a Saviour has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord. And this will be a sign to you. You'll find a baby wrapped in cloths and lying in a manger. I want to look at one sentence. I bring you good news that will cause great joy for all the people. Good news, because the one we need has been born. You may know this word used for good news is evangel, which is a word the gospel writers stole from the Romans. The Romans used it when a Caesar had been born, and it broadly meant this was the word used for a God has been born. That news, the announcement that went out from Rome, a God has been born. I mean, it's just a funny thing to do, isn't it? Someone knocks on your door, a God has been born. They borrowed this word because it was the best possible word to communicate the sort of good news this was in. It's not good news. There are more yellow stickers in Sainsbury's today. Get yourselves down there, the pizzas. Jamie Oliver's pizza's half price. You know, that's the sort of good news I normally deal in. Good news. COVID negative test. This is just such another order of good news. They needed a special word to describe it. It was said to the shepherds, a Saviour has been born to you. If someone says to me, Ed, a Saviour's been born, I mean, that is the most baffling sentence you could say. A, I'm not sure I needed saving. B, they've just been born. How long do I have to wait to be saved then? Good news. The one you and I have been waiting for, the one we need has been born. Great joy, because he changes us, our situation and our future. We have a really good friend. She is 13. And, this time last year, she was ordinary. In this particular context, I mean, her legs worked. She broke her leg. Something else happened, I think, to the leg. And now she's in a wheelchair, but it's nothing to do with the leg being broken. It's one of these ultra complex medical issues, which is partly physical and partly mental, maybe. When I last saw her, she was in a wheelchair. I hadn't seen her like that before. And it's a shock to see someone who last time you saw them was running around, bouncing on a trampoline. She's been going to a lot of doctors, and one of them was a psychologist. I'm sorry, I'm not clear on the difference. And after a few sessions, this psychologist asked to speak to the parents. The parents went in. They were hopeful that they were going to hear some breakthrough, some understanding. They went in without their daughter. The psychologist said to them, I don't understand why your daughter's full of joy. I've not come across someone like this before. And they said to her, it's because she has a Christian hope and she believes the Lord is in this hurt. The doctor said, does the Bible say this? And they said, yeah, they did. She said, where? They said, well, Psalm 23 is a good place. We start there. The Lord is my shepherd. He takes us through the darkest places. He never leaves me, and he's taking me somewhere good. She then said, where else does it say this? And they honestly went through the Bible, finding places where the Lord has promised to be with his people through the pain and in the pain, and there is hope and joy. This is not happiness at Christmas. This is great joy, because this baby changes us. He changes our situation and he changes our future. And then finally, for all people, because no one is excluded. I was at my little church's prayer meeting last night, and we got to a moment where we had these sheets of what to pray for, and we were told to pray for this. I'm just going to read you 2 sentences. It's someone, a friend of mine, who sadly, she can't be much of a friend because I didn't know this was what she was doing. I knew her a few years ago and we did ministry together. I read this. Please pray for Margot, who is traveling on mission to Likawaga, Tanzania, for her multinational team consisting of 2 Canadians, a late Margot from the UK, 2 Tanzanian couples, one of whom are team leaders, and a Kenyan couple. Pray that in the uncertainties of how quickly she can learn the Kiswahili language, building friendships with the local people, adjusting to basic living with no phone signal. So I came home. I don't want to seem like a geography obsessive, but I did look up Likawage. Okay, there is Likawage. I'm really sorry if one of you knows how to pronounce it. Okay, on the map from side to side is 60 kilometers of nothing. There's nowhere else on the map. That's the distance from me to Brighton. London to Brighton, nothing else on the map. Okay, you then go out a bit and you get that. Now, if you showed me that bit of map, which is, you can see the little scale at the bottom, I still don't know where in the world I am. There's nothing there that I recognize. I have to go to a scale that size, which essentially is half of Africa, to work out what even country she's in. My friend Margot, who was born in South Africa, who lives in London, is going with 2 Canadians, 2 Tanzanian couples, and a Kenyan to that place to learn a language I've never heard of. Why? Sainsbury's doesn't do this. Microsoft doesn't do this. Apple doesn't do this. Christians do this because Jesus was born for all people. If Margot can go to a place where there is no one else between here and Brighton, then I can talk to my friend Hazel next door, whose husband is dying slowly, about the hope of Jesus. I can go across the road to Joe and Hugh, even though Joe's the daughter of a pastor and she's quite cross with Jesus, and tell her about Christmas this year. Christmas is for all people. It's for all people. Margot gets it. Margot's inspiring. This Christmas, a baby has been born. It is good news of great joy. It is for all people. And I am over the moon that 97 of us are gathering to work out together how this Christmas can be the best. How as many people as possible can have their hearts as thrilled as the shepherds. That's the goal, okay? I'm going to show you more of the shepherd story later in a way that I can't quite express how excited I am, okay? But when you'll see it, you'll understand. That is what we're doing. Let me pray for Margot and us. Father, we thank you for Margot. We thank you for the 2 Canadians who are undoubtedly our brothers and sisters, for the 2 Tanzanian couples and the Kenyan couple. Father, we thank you that they inspire us because their faith has legs. They are going because they know the truth of the good news of great joy for all people. And they are determined, Father, to learn a language I've never heard of so that they can express that in ways others can understand. Father, I pray that we would knock on doors. I pray we'd speak with love. I pray we'd drop off brownies at doors. I pray we'd be creative. I most of all pray for us in this meeting that we would lead others. Would we lead others this Christmas? Would we be the catalyst? Would we be the motivator? Would we be the trainers? Would we be the innovators? Would we be the creatives? Would we know, Father, who we can hold hands with in our planning? So that this Christmas, as many as possible can hear the good news of great joy for all people. Amen. Amen. I've got a straw poll for you. Everything in the world wants me to say, why don't you talk to your neighbor now? We're going to do that in a breakout group in just a moment. So for the moment, we've got a straw poll. I like starting with these because we just find out how we're all feeling and what's going on. My church's Christmas planning is heading towards something similar to one of the three. How we did it before COVID, how we did it last Christmas, or something new. Okay. This Christmas, the priority for my church, your church, feels like focusing on engaging. What's the vibe? Church families, perhaps because it feels a bit more disparate. Guest families, or both equally. What do you think? Okay, no right or wrong answers. We're just interested to hear what you're saying. I have come to the big day out today. Final question for, tick as many as you like. Help with all age services, a bit of Bible inspiration, some Sunday school resources or ideas, encouragement from this network, because the honest answer is the breakout group is the best part, and we wish Ed would talk less. Help for families, help with planning Christmas in general, inspiration of a type we're not yet sure about, but we're hoping we're going to find some, or something and anything. We've just been sent here and we don't even know why we're here, but we're hoping we're going to get something useful out of it. Tick a few, see what you say. Okay, I'm also, yeah, great, I've got mine, right? And then you submit, and then we wait. And then in the fullness of time, in less than 30 seconds, when you've all finished ticking, I'll stop talking, you finish ticking. We've hit 100. There are 100 people. If you've just come in the middle of a straw poll, don't feel frightened. It's not personal data, okay? And then Anita, I think somehow, is going to display the results of that poll for everyone. I don't know how Anita does it or what we wait for, but I think you just all have to do it quickly. Okay, in just a moment, we are going to go to, it's there. Is it on your screen too? Yes, it is, good. Nick McDonald is nodding. Thanks, Nick. Okay, so what we're learning is half of us think we're heading for something new this Christmas. I think that is exciting, and I think that's why we're here today, okay? The other two are just as exciting. The priority feels like both equally. I think that's interesting. I thought we were going to say this Christmas more than normal, we're heading for church families, but we think we're heading for both. Great, thank you. And then finally, what have you come hoping for? This is where the team are panicking a little. 72% say inspiration. Come on, team, we can do this. Great, very good. 67, help with planning Christmas in general. 34%, you're the hopeful ones. You don't know why you're coming, but you're hoping there's something on offer. We're for you. Great. Well, that is totally mixed. Wow. Let's see if we can hit all 10 of those options today. Great. We are now going to go into our breakout group. Okay, can I give you a suggestion? Just say hello to each other. Maybe just share one encouragement from that passage we've just looked at. My other suggestion is, why don't you share one reason why you've come? Because that way, if we don't manage to help you, the others in your breakout group might. Okay, so you're clear, something that's encouraged you, or a reason you've come, okay? Or you're all adults, think of your own crazy question to answer. Okay, someone take charge, you'll have a great time, 8 minutes away from us, and then we'll come back. You're back, we're here. Well done. Well, look, we've just had a fantastic time in our group. I'm going to tell you a bit about what I got excited about other people saying in our group. But it is super helpful if a few of you want to be brave enough just to unmute and share something that you shared that is just helpful. Just to start, we were just discussing in our group about how a sense of trying to be safe this Christmas is a big thing. How do we not overfill a room and make people nervous? We were talking about, is outdoor community carols a thing that could happen this year? Could we still be meeting on a football pitch? We find more people perhaps come from the local area for that. Someone else just unmute. Just tell me things you were talking about. Amy, do you want to start with this as you're getting excited on the chat? What came up in your group?
We had a lovely time in our group. There's some brilliant people in the room. Please put the things that you are saying in chat or shout out, because it's so good to hear. I think a lovely lady in our group was telling me how just that feeling of being a bit overwhelmed about here's the big to-do list and here's the stuff and coming at you, and to just take a minute to be reminded that Christmas is good news, and that, you know, we can do it because what we've got to share is good news, and try not to get all the stuff get in the way of that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, someone else is just being brave. Lucy Lyle is brave, but she's just saying she chatted about the wider church can support the smaller churches. I mean, so look, we've got 3 people from Sheffield. Let's start the work here. Thank you, Lucy. And clearly that's what we're trying to do at Faith in Kids. We have a working assumption that we're not for the bigger churches. We are trying to help those churches who find it harder to do it on their own. Thank you very much, Lucy. Unmute yourself.
Hello, Ed.
Go.
Hi, Barnaby here. Yeah, I didn't mention this in our group, but we did outdoor carol singing last year just in front of the church, and it was really well received. It was absolutely chucking it down with rain, but loads of people came and passers-by stopped and people were kind of hanging out of the window. Just people were desperate for that kind of sense of community, and that was a really good thing.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So look, in my group, the way I phrased it was, am I the only weirdo who thinks a 30-minute carol service outdoors in winter in the dark is a great thing? And I feel, look, Barnaby, you're encouraging me that you're with me in that. And it's great. We're just in the chat, we're hearing about this podcast that, look, it's given us more stories than we normally get from a podcast that we did with Nay Dawson on Halloween. And the relevance there is discovering that when the community come to our homes and we offer them hope and light and sweets and a smile, we get a huge reaction and a Bible verse and a way of giving them Christ that they feel able to stomach, that doesn't feel judgmental, awkward. That must be a story we're searching for at Christmas, that sweet spot. Thanks very much. Someone else, unmute. This is brilliant. This is what we hope for. Someone else just
Ed, can I, on the flip side to your wonderful magic big things that you always suggest, we did a big light trail heroes party at church. 60 kids came from the community. It was fantastic. And then also at the same time, our youth and children are raising money for a South African project. And my kids or someone else just did a cake sale for the neighbours. We got no one's come to church yet from this massive effort of a light trail, but because we did a cake sale, they picked a flyer up, someone turned up at church. So the simple, also to encourage people, don't get intimidated by having this massive thing that you think you have to do. God works through the simple things too. So just get really excited by whatever you can do.
And Pete, give us a moment of cultural analysis, because that's why I always look to you. Pete, what is it about a cake sale then? What is it that's happening that you think you're onto something?
Well, it was one thing. It wasn't a cake sale. It was free cakes for the neighbours. Our kids were sponsored to do something kind. So they decided that my kids like cakes because they're my children. So we did free cakes for the neighbours and put it on the local WhatsApp group, and people just pitched up, and we put some flyers for church. And I just got chatting to a neighbour. She thought, well, I've been feeling for a little while, trying church, and I'll come. And we thought we told her about Christmas events, thinking that might be the great lead-in because it's only 7 weeks away. And then she turned up. This is on Friday. On Sunday, she turned up at church. And it was slightly interesting. Those who'd organised this massive light trail were excited about this woman coming, but thinking, we just killed ourselves to put this event on. But actually, they both work together. And
the conclusion there is Pete should make more cakes. Thanks, Pete.
I should eat more cake.
Eat more cakes. Thank you, Pete. Brilliant.
No,
Emma.
it isn't. It's personal connections.
Sorry, that's it, Amy. That's it. I knew that's it. Sorry. So there is a series. Well done, Amy. Good. There is a thing, isn't there, that particularly post-COVID, local is a big thing. We know the people on our road. We recognise the people on our road, perhaps more than we ever have. Thank you very much. Doorstep carols happened here last year. And as a result, there's been relationships. We're going to talk about that a bit later. But how do we return to that? Do we try to find a way? We talked about this a lot last year and we put some resources together. They're still on the website. But do you sort of get a mini band of a singer and a guitarist and arrange for 8 carol services on every bit of grass in the community, and you just get the people who live there to bring their roads to it? Thank you. Someone else, unmute and go.
We were talking a little bit about the fact that some churches seem almost back to normal, but some of us have only just got kids back in the services or aren't even there yet. And so Christmas services feel very alien.
Thank you very much. So Corrie, just tell us what that leads us to want to think of something sort of creative and innovative to do, does it? Something that isn't in a church building, maybe? Yeah. Corrie, thank you very much for sharing that. Thank you. People are talking about Christmas came to me, which is, you know, that was our branding. It's lovely to hear that coming back on the chat, that this carol service on your doorstep. Thank you. Someone else just want to unmute. This is brilliant. Loving this shared enthusiasm and these ideas. What are you talking about? Where are you stuck?
Our group, not where we're stuck, but we were all struck by just being excited that Christmas is a time when people are more open to hearing the good news, and we can feel more bold, and that's just really exciting. And so whatever we do, we were just talking about getting excited about doing it.
Thank you, Candy. So courage. There's a lot of that, isn't there? That how do we inspire our families to be courageous, to take the good news to those they do know?
Yeah.
There was this survey done, Talking Jesus, I guess it's 5 years ago now, that essentially discovered everyone loves Christians, and they didn't believe the results, and they did it again. And they found it again. So in summary, they just found people in the UK like Christians. And whereas Christians feel like no one likes us because perhaps what we hear on the news or that sort of thing. Great, to be brave. Thank you. Have we got time for one more? Someone else just want to unmute and tell us what inspired you in your group.
We were talking about like a couple of people in our group were chatting about using your resources from last year and how amazing they worked in their churches and in their communities, and you know, getting inspiration for that from that, and adapting that to their church experience and what's going on in their churches now, which is amazing, really. Just shows how good the resources are.
Sarah, thank you. Look, it may, what has really struck me so far is how much people are talking about the resources we between us, I think, created last year, us being this wider group at the Big Day Out. We ran some creative sessions. We tried to understand what people's ideas were, and those are all still on our website. So, you know, the bake along, the video is still there. The ingredients are still there. The invitations and the what do you need to gather, what do you need to put on doorsteps are still there. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sarah. So keep putting those ideas in the chat. They're so helpful. I just wanted to run through maybe 4 starting points for how we think about Christmas. To some degree, these are mine, and I'm sure they won't be right for everyone, but equally they're fairly general. So I hope it captures what might be helpful. And you'll hear, if you've been around Faith in Kids for a while, that some of the things we say, we do want to just keep saying, because it's not necessarily our wisdom, but we're convinced of it. So the 4 ideas, and Anita will put these in the chat. The first one is the Christmas gospel. We started this session by looking at the shepherds. That's clearly deliberate on our part, because it is Jesus Christ who will inspire our planning. It is his spirit at work that will work through the meeting that lasts too long and is too late at night, that will lead us to places where we reach our community. If Christ is at the heart of what we're doing, rather than a calendar to fill, rather than a church building to make used, rather than a banner we've got to get printed. We start with the Christmas gospel. We start with the spirit at work in the hearts of those who are planning, of the leaders, of the teams. And I think that means we start with prayer, and we send people away to pray, so that when they come to the business meeting, the planning meeting, what they arrive with first is the excitement of the gospel. So firstly, the Christmas gospel. Secondly, the vision. the vision for our church. We had a helpful slot from Chris, one of my colleagues, that you can find on our YouTube channel from the last big day out, when he explained about what we mean by vision. It is, what is your prayer for 5 years' time for your church? Where are you going? What are you consistently talking about? What are and that shapes the decisions you make. Will we run the event on the football pitch in the green, or will we gather in our church building? You know, those two options are most shaped by the vision we have as a church. One is not better than the other. It's about where are we wanting to go and where are we at now? So we just remind ourselves, our church has a vision, or may I say our church needs a vision. But answer the question, it's something like, what would our church do this Christmas? Which is a different answer to anyone else's church. So we'll get ideas from the big day out, but our church will still have a different answer. Okay, the Christmas gospel, the vision. Thirdly, the ghost of Christmas past. The ghost of Christmas past is just to say, where have we come from? So for instance, I think Christmas is a time when our communities know our church has traditions. I hear about churches who always get a donkey, and therefore they fill their field with families. I've heard of churches who have a habit of meeting on the rugby pitch in the summer. I know churches who say it's our Christmas Eve late night service. We fill it up twice over every year. So we look forward with the vision, but we also just ask ourselves, what has worked? What are we known for? What do people look forward to? We don't want to be deliberately sort of disruptive in being innovative. We do want to listen to what our community hope to us to provide. And also, you know, the ghost of Christmas past is also last Christmas. It would be a shame if, with courage and because of a chaotic situation, we did something brave. It worked really well, but because it was COVID, we never go there again. So just to say, a moment to reflect on what have we tried? What was small, but it got a much bigger reaction than we thought? What got a bigger smile? What drew surprising people in? Okay, the Christmas gospel, the vision, the ghost of Christmas past, and then finally, the plan for Christmas present. We have a chance to settle on something new this year. We have a chance to wonder afresh. One of you has sent me an email that says their church has a history of doing big holiday clubs for the last 50 years. And the email just helpfully says, we're wondering about what we do next. You know, that's the sort of question that I think is only being asked at the moment, which is, what is our opportunity? What do we do? We have a chance to take what is great, what is a tradition, to learn from last year, and to work out what this year could look like. Okay, those four: the Christmas gospel, the vision of our church, the ghost of Christmas past, and planning Christmas present. That's where we're starting. Okay. Now, I think we have with us David Shaw. David, could you say hello so I just know you're there?
Hello.
Ah, brilliant. That's the moment I was hoping for. David, thanks for joining us. David, let me just ask you a few questions so you can introduce yourself. Where are you sitting? What is it you do there? Tell us a bit about your family, what you do.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm sitting here at Oak Hill College. I'm the vice principal of the college here, where I teach New Testament and Greek and biblical theology. And I serve as an elder at Spicer Street in St Albans, and I'm married to Jo. We've got 4 kids, 3 cats, 2 budgies. Mostly the trick is keeping the cats and the budgies apart, but there are other challenges too.
And David, being that your job title, if you don't mind me saying, is a little intimidating, tell me what do you love about what it is you do in your world of Greek Old Testament vice principaling in Oak Hill?
Thank you. I love helping people to understand in all of the depth and beauty of what the Bible has to say to us about who God is and what he's doing in the world. I love helping people understand that in every way that we can, and then being sent out with a vision of explaining that as simply, as helpfully, as life-givingly as possible in their churches.
Thank you, David. Last question before I let you talk. You also are the editor, creator of The Primer, which seems to be doing great business. Can you just tell us a bit about that and what the vision is for The Primer?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I'm going to wave one. This is the most recent primer. They come out about twice a year, and the idea is it's an 80-page sort of magazine, textbook, journal sort of thing. The idea is in 80 pages, we take one topic of theology and we work through what the scriptures say about that, how Christians have thought about it through the past, and then we work through to what difference it makes in the Christian life. So the most recent issue that's just come out is on the doctrine of the Incarnation. And so we think, how has the church understood that? How does that doctrine emerge from the scriptures? And then we move right through to thinking about, well, how does that shape the way that we do ministry? For lots of you, I guess one of the big ideas in a lot of youth work is the idea that it ought to be incarnational. The last article asks that question. What would it mean to do ministry that is shaped by the incarnation? How would that affect the way that we engage with young people? In what way is Jesus' incarnation a model for how we do ministry? So we try and make that move through each issue to help people think, how do I actually minister in light of those great truths? So that's Primer.
Thank you, David. Now, David, I've asked you to speak a bit about the Incarnation for us because the timing is perfect. And, who knew you'd bring this out just before Christmas? It's almost planned. David, over to you.
Thank you. First thing I want to say, and it's really the reason why I said yes to doing this at all, it was just the opportunity to say thank you to quite as many people doing what you're doing. Like I said before, I have 4 kids, and we are blessed to be part of a church with faithful, hardworking youth and children's workers. And we absolutely love what you do and are so grateful for all of the time that you put in, most of you trying to fit that around a lot of other things in life. So I'm mostly here to say thank you and God bless you in what you're planning towards Christmas. Now, Ed asked me, can you summarize what we mean by the Incarnation in simple terms? And then there's another question which we'll get to in a minute. So let's put it in the Bible's own words. The doctrine of the Incarnation says the Word became flesh and made his dwelling amongst us. We're talking about the Son of God who takes to himself a human nature and comes into the world, born of a virgin, for us and for our salvation. Ed asks, can I link that to Christmas? Yes, I think that's the easiest question I'll ever get asked to do. That's the great message of Christmas, that God himself steps into the world for us and for our salvation. Thank you for that. Ed wondered, can I give you just a nugget from Primer to help you think a bit more about the Incarnation? As I said before, I love theology that's expressed in really simple words, ideally words of 1 or 2 syllables. And you'll know that's one of the beautiful things about John chapter 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Massive ideas, really nice short words. There's one other formula which the church has used for a long time to talk about the doctrine of the Incarnation that also does all of its work in words of 1 or 2 syllables. It's the idea that he became what we are so that we could become what he is. He became what we are so that we could become what he is. It's a really brilliant way of capturing what the Incarnation is all about. What does it mean? So he became what we are. He became human so that we could become what he is. It's not quite the idea that he became human so that we could become God in the way that he's God, but rather we're talking about the Son of God who became human so that we could become sons and daughters of God. It helps us see why, out of the Trinity, why was it the Son of God who became incarnate? Well, there's a fittingness to that. If the whole goal is to make us sons and daughters of God, then it was the Son who became human so that in him we too might become children of God. And that's a theme that you'll see in many of the passages that you'll be preparing for Christmas. So in Luke 1, where you've got the great genealogy of Adam, who was created to be a son of God, but falls into sin. And Jesus comes and is born in that line so that we can become sons and daughters of God again. Or it's how John chapter 1 will finish, with that thought that the word becomes flesh and comes into the world. And although the world is going to reject the Son for the most part, yet to those who receive him, to those who believe in his name, he gives the right to be called children of God. So that idea of the Son of God who becomes what we are, takes on a human nature so that we can become what he is. We can be born again because he was born. So something of one simple idea that helps us get our head around the incarnation, and you'd find out much more about that in primer. He became what we are so that we could become what he is. And then go on, Ed, jump in.
No, I don't want to jump in. Sorry, you left the pause and you were going brilliantly, David. Ignore me and my strange mouth movements. Keep talking.
Fine. I'm gonna chuck in two more things for you, and then our time might be gone, or Ed might want to ask something. One of the brilliant things, given what you're hoping to do, I think, is that there are loads of brilliant illustrations out there to help people understand how we understand one man, one person, Jesus Christ, having both a human and a divine nature, and how that could go wrong. This is really different to teaching the doctrine of the Trinity. Most of you will be aware of how hard it is to find a good illustration of that. But there are loads of illustrations of how the incarnation might go wrong. There's a great book called Superheroes Can't Save You, epic examples of historic heresies. Superheroes can't save you. And it's a brilliant way of saying, take most Marvel superheroes, and there are really good examples of how that's not what Jesus is. So for example, the idea that Jesus only ever appeared to be human is illustrated by Superman very brilliantly. Sure, he can put on the glasses and look like Clark Kent, but he was always something else. He was never really human. He only ever looked like a particularly handsome and muscular human being, but he never really was. There are some resources out there that are going to help you illustrate brilliantly what we're talking about to say that Jesus has a divine and a human nature, and how we might get that wrong. So superheroes can't save you. Very often you reach for popular culture and find the analogies aren't brilliant. Actually, there are loads of great analogies and illustrations to be found there. You can Google that online and you'd find blog pieces about it, so you wouldn't have to buy the book, but you can nick all of those illustrations. And then just lastly, one thing from family life that we've, I think, learnt in recent years as being really helpful for us. If you ask our kids what's been a highlight of recent Christmases, it's the idea of doing a shepherd's meal on Christmas Eve. I don't know whether this is a thing that many people do. It's an idea that my wife found from some American families. But the idea is on Christmas Eve, because loads of people have got fire pits these days. And what we did is we got outside on Christmas Eve. It was freezing, it was cold, but it was novel. And kids will endure cold for novelty and for fire, in my experience. So a fire pit, we cooked up a really simple meal. The idea is you eat a meal a bit like the shepherds could have eaten, and you can make your choices there. We did some some potato soup and some basic things, but you could do a little spread of nuts and dates and things and be a bit more authentic, I suppose, and ancient Near Eastern. But the idea is to sit around a campfire and to do some readings. So you could read, you could read some passages from the Gospels and have kids do readings. You could sing some songs. You could get them dressed up in shepherds as shepherds. We've we found a great little book called Jotham's Journey recently that we've read through Advent, and that's been a really helpful little thing to read and to finish reading on Christmas Eve. So it's one of those opportunities to get kids away from screens, around a fire with their families, and creating something, a good memory We've really been blessed by that. Hot dogs on a fire pit, absolutely. With a tea towel on your head, you're already there. Ed, back to you.
David, thank you very, very much. I didn't think it was quite possible to do the Doctrine of the Incarnation in 8 minutes, but many would argue you haven't quite, you know what I mean. You really have. I'm certain there's more to say. And that is why you've edited the primer. Anita has put that link in the chat. David, you would say, I don't want to put, I am putting words into your mouth. You would say that the people in this group are who the primer is for, isn't it? The primer, you haven't written the primer only for people who have spent 3 years in theological college.
Absolutely. So the idea is we are working hard to make rich theology accessible and really well applied to ministry. That's the aim. Tell us if we're not doing it well enough. Send us ideas, but that's the aim.
Brilliant. You had that invitation here. The link is in the chat. You can buy that one. 10 of those will then take you to the world of previous editions of the primer. And there's now a back catalogue so that so many of the topics, some big topics that we, the culture and the history of the church have been talking about, that you get to buy 3. I'm absolutely certain 10 of those will do some sort of bonkers deal that if you buy 4, you get the 6th free or something, or the 5th one is just a surprising gift. Now, if you have questions for David, he's going to just be with us for a few more minutes. Put those in the chat. We're very grateful to you, David. And the primer may well be exactly the sort of thing for us and our teams to be reading in the next maybe fortnight as we start to get ahead of Christmas. Great. Thank you, David, very much. I'll leave that there. Answers in the chat, things that have encouraged you, things you're thinking about. David can be contacted through Twitter. How else should we contact you? Or is there there's a primer website? Are you muted? David, you're muted.
I am, thank you.
It's all right.
I'll ping my email address into the chat
Great.
here as well. So if anyone wants to get in touch direct, I'd be very glad for that.
Thanks very much. Thank you very much. We are now going. Someone wants to. Who was it who did? It's we've just had. It's Guy. Guy managed to be our links guru. So Guy, your challenge is to now find for Laura the link to Jotham's journey. And Katie's saying it's hard to get hold of. Look at that. David, did you know that Jotham's journey apparently is hard to get hold of?
I can only tell you that we managed, but I don't know how.
Guy can do it. Guy will sort it.
Guy will sort it. Guy is on it. Thank you very much. Now, I wanted to give you something of an overview of what Faith in Kids is doing this year. Now, we have heard and we have talked about what we did last year. I feel slightly apologetic about that, because when you hear people talking so effusively about what we did last year and that they enjoyed so much, you feel like we're missing a trick. But we think that this space we're all in, which is how do we keep offering Christ and the gospel at Christmas to our families and to the community, it's not a very crowded space. So we are going to keep on trying to think up what is needed this year. I just want to pick up on one thing David said, is that David picked up on that idea of Christian families creating a Christian memory. That is something that we here at the Big Day Out that we can do for families, is trying to help people differentiate between, you know, a good family Christmas and a Christian family Christmas. David's idea is a great example of the latter. And our resources are trying to do that too, is we don't want to put out resources that feel painful to use, that feel like they're awkward or boring or dull or you know, as if the word Christian is somehow insulting. David's idea is exactly the space we want to be in, which is they're manageable. They fit into the fabric of normal everyday family life. So the 4 resources we're putting out, some of you have already been waving at me, The Adventure of Christmas. You may know that this is the 3rd book we've brought out after The Wonder of Easter and Meals with Jesus. There's a sort of wonderful trilogy we've now got, which is Easter, Jesus's life in Meals with Jesus, and we're going backwards, his birth in the Adventure of Christmas. It is, I'm going to open it. The idea of this is there are 25 days to get you from the beginning of December to Christmas Day. There is a starter activity, which we hope takes less than a minute or two. We then have a passage, which if you look in this particular day is a long one. It's 4 whole verses, trying to make them short. Then a bundle of questions, one for every age group. And we think the whole thing can be done in 10 minutes. The particular heart of this book was to say, what can we put into the hands of you and church leaders that you could say every family in our church could do this? So simple, not requiring prior knowledge, not requiring prior routines. What can we give to every family? And because every family needs stickers, what did we do next, Amy? You're muted, Amy.
It's okay. I'm not anymore. We got stickers. Got stickers. Here is, do you want me to do the whole thing, Ed?
Yes, I do want you to do the whole thing.
Here is the advent calendar, and it opens, dun, 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 and here is the journey that you take. There we go, across, through the days, the journey through the landscape, past the shepherds to the stable. And there's a sticker for every day, and the stickers have got like a little icon on it, which links to the big thing that you are learning that day. So you see, that's so good. So praise, there's the angels praising the Lord, and we're learning about why we're praising him and why it's good news that the Son of God has come from heaven, the little sticker about, they're so cool. And even better, starting live today, we're going to have a competition that you can post your picture of who allowed their children to take control and isn't a control freak, because it's about the children, and stick the stickers on Wonky. The wonkiest sticker on the advent calendar. Surprise. And I want to see them on all our social media pages.
Amy, thank you very much. I'd love to do a quick straw poll. Who finds the idea of stickers that are outside the dotted lines slightly triggering? But we won't do that right.
Jesus welcomes sinners, many people who don't put their stickers on straight.
Thank you very much, Amy. Thank you. So where we got to was, that is the first two, which are clearly for the home. The book, the advent calendar, for the home. For the church, we have the Adventure of Christmas, adaptable teaching resources. That's top right. So our own Alex Webb-Pett plays part of our team. He did the artwork for all of these. What a genius. So in a moment, Paula is going to tell us about them. The final thing we did is yesterday we started recording podcasts in a studio. The first one comes out in November about Zachariah and Elizabeth. We have deliberately started the podcast in November because we think families need a running start, because I haven't met the family who can do a 10-minute Bible time every day from the 1st to the 25th of December. So I'm just recommending you start in mid-November. And if you finish before Easter, it's a total win. The podcasts are going to start dropping in November towards the end. And the idea of them is they are covering some of the same ground, not all of it, but they're going to try and walk with a family and show them, Jam and I, try and do a Bible time with you, essentially. Paula is going to tell us about our downloadable resources. Paula, unmute yourself and start shouting.
I'm unmuted and hopefully I don't have to shout. Hopefully you can all hear me at this point. Yeah, so Ed's given us a great introduction to these resources. And I just feel like I should say that if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, specifically in the UK, you should count yourselves very privileged to be getting those stickers and those advent calendars. Because, I mean, I know that we all know that there won't be snow in Africa this Christmas time. So, I mean, will they know it's Christmas time at all? I don't know. But even worse, there won't even be stickers in Africa this Christmas time. Seems like in South Africa, we don't get those advent calendars. So I think just realize what a privilege it is that you guys get like the full smorgasbord of the adventure of Christmas resources, and you get to go sticker crazy. I don't know, Caitlin, maybe we can like buy each other some different stickers and we can make our own sticker advent calendars. I think that's what we'll have to do. But we can move away from the stickers now, because I'm going to tell you more about our downloadable resource. I gave you a little taster in our last big day out of what you can expect, and hopefully some of you have downloaded that first lesson and the introduction. You can have a look and find all of that on our website. And so some of you might already have an idea of what we have done. And so we created this resource to be flexible and adaptable, because the one thing that we really know is that you guys are the ones who know what your church family need the most. And so we have created this so that you can all go on an adventure together. We want the whole church family to be adventuring through Christmas. And we really want you to be inspired to take our resource and use it in the best way for your church. So I just want to share something with you. We received an incredible email from someone last year. So I'm going to do the classic. I'm just going to share my screen. Just imagine 10 years on from now, we'll all be on Zoom and still saying, I'm just sharing my screen. And I don't know if Anne Burgess is here today. We can all give her a little clap at the end of the big day out if she is still here. But she sent us an email at the beginning of this year after Christmas. And I just want to read a few things from it because it really does highlight that you guys are the ones who can take a resource and you can do so much more than we could have ever imagined. So I just want to read a few things. She's from a medium-sized independent evangelical church on the Northeast London, West Essex border. So as 2020 progressed, we felt that we were struggling to maintain meaningful contact with our church families and others in the wider community as well. And I mean, you might be feeling the same way. We so wanted to do car park carols. We loved the idea, but we couldn't find a place willing to have us. So we recruited a dozen or so families to whom we pre-delivered ingredients and sent the recipe out to a few others. I sent my colleague the link to your fantastic bake-along promo about 48 hours before we did it. And his response was, and I quote, "Make sure no one sees that," because we felt we were unable to compete with those two shining stars. Anyway, we just did it. What joyful fun. I thought this was incredible. And it felt so brilliant, a real connection. Afterwards, we received so many photos of families baking along, gingerbread shapes, just a few in the shape of nativity figures, all iced to within an inch of common decency. It has helped to bring us closer and to draw fringe and beyond the fringe families a little more towards the heart of the church family. We shared the joy with a slideshow of photos sent in the next day in the church service. We also wanted to do something online for families that was Christmas themed on Sunday morning. It also happened to be the morning after Boris cancelled Christmas easing, and we were all feeling blue. Well, I'd mashed together two of your resources, the script of the Walkabout Nativity and the background slides of the Zoom Nativity. It was such a good, silly, joyful romp. These two events have helped to shape more supportive and fruitful interactions in coming months with our families and community. It's so encouraging. Like, I had a look at this and thought, so she told us she came from a medium-sized church, and yet I look at this and I see there have been 450 views, and their other one had 225 views. And I just thought, how incredible is this? For a time where we've all felt so separated and so apart, and like we can't celebrate together, so many people have been able to have this connection and enjoy these things together because of what you guys can do when you have some resources put in your hands. We can only do so much. We can only create a resource that can do so many things. And yet you guys take it and you run with it and you do things that are phenomenal. And so we want you to be so encouraged, and we want you to be inspired today as you start thinking about what will your adventurous Christmas be like this year. And so it's already told you about the book, the Advent calendar, and the podcast. And so I just want to also show you obviously my beautiful drawings. I did this all for you guys. So this is just a recap of how you can have an adventurous Christmas using our resources. So if you imagine the family when they're at home and they're opening up that book together, obviously you're going to have your mix of happy parents going, come on guys, this is great, let's open this book up. Kids staring off into space, some excited, some just bleak, some not bothered. And our book that is saying, parents, you can do this. We're giving you something in your hands. You can do this. We're equipping you with that, and we believe in you. Then off they go on their little adventure. Maybe they're going to drive to church, or maybe they're off to Christmas. And what are they going to do? They're going to pop on that podcast because they know that there are other people going on this adventure too. So the podcast is a bit of a cheerleader. It's saying, guys, we know maybe you got stuck on like day 3. You're finding it hard to keep going. It is hard to sit down as a family and do this together. But it's okay. We know that. And so we're going to talk about it together, and we're going to encourage you, and we're all in this together. You can keep going. So as Ed mentioned, that's how families are going to be learning together at home with the book and the podcast, and obviously those stickers. Everyone loves those stickers. And then off they go. So maybe they got in their car listening to the podcast, they arrive at church, and we've got, this is where we get to our downloadable resource, the Adventure of Christmas, our adaptable teaching resource. So at church, we are learning as a family. We are also going off into Sunday school classes where we are having what we've learned at home being reinforced by others. I get to see I'm not alone as a Christian. There are others who also believe this. And wow, we even played a game while we were learning about Jesus. This is amazing. And then as I go home, we carry on our adventure. I pass my friends on the street and I think, hang on, I want you to know about Jesus too. I want you to join me on this adventure. And that's when you can use our community outreach, our family adventure handouts. Give them a bag filled with the handouts and some sweets or something. Get them along on this adventure. So obviously, because I don't really want you to look at my pictures for longer than you need to, we'll look at that a little bit more in depth. So like I said, we're going to be learning together as a family. So when you go to church, you can use this all welcome service. This is for you as the kids worker, or it's for you as the vicar of your church to help everybody learn together. You can walk through this adventure. We've got 4 of these. So if you're familiar with our resources, you'll know about the Bible story ideas. Well, what we did is we took that and we said, people probably need a bit of help with thinking, how could they do this as a service with everybody in there? Christians, non-Christians, your guests, your the oldest person in the church, the youngest person in the church. We want everybody who is part of that church family to be able to learn together. We want them to be engaged, whether they're 4 years old or 84 years old. And we want them all to learn. We want them to leave thinking, wow, Jesus is incredible. Imagine having a king like that. I can have a king like that. So that is how you can use our all welcome service. Use it to learn together as a family. But what you can also do is take out sections and use it as just a kids slot to introduce the adventure for the day before the kids go out into their Sunday school classes. And this is where they're, again, having that reinforcement, being encouraged that they aren't in this on their own. And just having what they did maybe during the week in a bigger way, being able to actually spend some time going through that story, talking about how this makes a difference to their lives, and talking about it with friends who might experience the same sort of things. You might also say, yeah, I know this is good news and I've told my friend, but sometimes they just don't agree with me, or sometimes they think, oh, I don't need a savior. And so let them be encouraged together as they learn together. So this is kind of like the core of the resource, the Sunday school lessons. We don't know what Christmas will look like this year. We're all hopeful that it will look like past Christmases where we were able to meet together, be in our classes together. Maybe it won't look like that this year, I don't know. And so as we wrote these, we did have in mind thinking, could families pick this up and use it? We think they could. We have kept things a bit more simple. We've gone for 2 age groups because we really want this to be accessible so that anybody could pick it up and go through it. And so if you were at home, or if you were having to do this as a live stream or something like that, you would be able to pick it up and run with it and use it in the best way for your church family. And then as we carry on our little adventure, we get to our community focused outreach resource. I think this is one of the best things that's come out of COVID, is that we've all found incredible ways to be able to connect with the people who are next door, connect with the people who are across the road, connect with our community. I think, that's something that you were all talking about with the Halloween stuff, is that it really has helped to build that community feel. And so we really wanted to be able to put something in your hands that you could give to others and say, come on this adventure with us. We think it's brilliant. And we really think it's important, and we want you to share in that with us. We did something like this at Easter. And again, I'm sure that when this is in your hands, you can do more with it than we would ever be able to think up. And so we hope that you are inspired to think, I already want to print hundreds of these and pop them in bags and put in a craft and get people on my street and the kids in my child's class getting involved in this Christmas adventure. So that is what we have put together for you. It's a whirlwind tour of what we have done. We want the whole family to be in on this adventure this year. We want everyone to see the characters from that first nativity and go, these were real people and these were incredible things that happened. We want them to be amazed by their King and Savior Jesus, and we really do want them to be sharing him with everyone. And so we hope that you will download these, have a look at them, talk to your team, share ideas. We hope that you'll be sharing ideas in your breakout groups as well. And get inspired and do more than what we could imagine, and then let us know. We would love to know. There are links to do a feedback form to fill that in, so let us know how it went, what you were encouraged by, what you wish was actually in there, and let us know so that we can constantly be learning about how to better equip you. So that is, I'm going to stop share and get back to Ed and say, Ed, off you go.
Thank you very much, Paula. We are now going to go to breakout groups. We have just covered the hardest chunk of our session, so it's okay if your brains are frazzled, and that's why we go to a breakout group to say, what just happened? Okay, so I'm just going to quickly answer some questions, and we're going to run through what we've been doing so that you can then come to the breakout group with your inspiration and your question. Okay, we have been looking at how we make a start with planning. The Christmas gospel, the vision for the church, the ghost of Christmas past, planning Christmas present. We have looked at the Incarnation with Dr. David Shaw. Didn't he do well? It might be there's just something there to talk about how we can teach it well and how our hearts are warmed. We have then seen the overview of the resources that we're offering you this year, and Paula has taken you through how we can go through the downloadable resource. Let me just fire some quick answers back to you from the chat to clarify. There are going to be 5 podcasts, and they're going to cover the stories of Zachariah and Elizabeth, Mary, Joseph, shepherds, wise men. They start on the 26th of November. They come out each Friday, and they will last beyond Christmas, because we all know the wise men arrived after Christmas. There are 5 of them, not 25. So the idea is we just touch in lightly through the book. We'll refer to the book, they would still work without it. The question is the Advent calendar, would it work without the book? I think the answer is yes, in that the stickers are numbered and you can work out roughly what goes on in each sticker. But clearly the pictures on the stickers match in with the Bible times. I can leave it to you to work out. There are 4 downloadable resources that Paula has just run through. They cover Mary, Joseph, shepherds, wise men. Do the devotions work for teens? The answer is we hope so. We hope so. The podcast definitely. My daughter's 14. She still puts up with it. She has a 7-year-old younger brother. It works there. Okay. I think if all of your family are teens, it probably will work less well. I'm going to leave some other questions for the chat for later. You're going to go to your breakout groups. You've got 8 minutes, something inspirational, something you plan to do, something you're baffled by. We are 3 minutes away from a break. I think that means we have time for 2 people to tell us questions that came out of their groups, moments of inspiration, things we'd love to share, or to whack it in the chat. Does anyone just want to unmute and tell us what came from their breakout group?
Yeah, I can do that if that's all right.
Please do. Thank you.
So we talked in our group. So I'd already ordered the book and the calendars to give out to families, but I wasn't sure how to package it. And someone else in the group had a really good idea that they're having a launch lunch. So families come together, they get excited about the resource and take it away rather than, oh no, you've given me something else to do and I'm really stressed out and it's going to end up on the shelf. So that was super helpful. We did have a question about the very last resource that was talked about, the invitation. We weren't sure, is that something you give out and it has activities and it's an all-in-one thing, or is it links to other things? Like, what was that last resource?
Thank you. Paula, can you answer that question?
I don't know if you'll be able to hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. I sometimes lose sound. Yeah, so we've put that together to be a resource on its own. And so print it out, double-sided, fold it up. We've put a little invitation in there, so it gives you an opportunity to say who you are, and throw in your flyers for your church so that you can make that connection as well. So yeah, use it in however you need to use it, but it is essentially a resource on its own. I have people in my group saying they're keen to get going with Christmas already, and because this stands alone, they can just go with it. It introduces you to the 4 characters. Each one has just a little snippet of their story, the Bible passage. You get to explore the adventure together as a family. So just some ideas, which are all really achievable, and really kind of like, you don't need any Bible knowledge to be able to do that. They are things that that any family could do, sitting around, having dinner and pretending that one of them is a royal person. Then there's a tiny explanation of the main thing. So we're doing a bit of teaching in there, and then enjoy the adventure. So like a suggestion of a really simple kind of crafty thing that you might be able to do. So, you know, decorate a ball to remind yourself that Jesus is the King of Christmas. So that is essentially what you expect from each one. And yeah, standalone.
Thank you. I'm answering some questions in the chat. I've put a link to the resource online. And if you click that link, you'll see links to where to go for the podcast and the book and the Advent calendar. It's lovely when someone says any chance of a discount code. The Good Book Company have given us a 50% discount on the books and the Advent calendar if you buy 10. And it's easy to, there you go. Adventure with Jesus, all one word. If you put that into your basket on the Good Book Company website. Is there just one version, Paula, of the community resource, or one for each character? Do we need to give out all 4? Go, Paula.
So is there just one version of it? Yeah, there is just one version. The one version has all 4 characters in there. but I guess you don't need to give out all 4. I'm sure
No,
you could.
there aren't 4. There's 1. So you only need to give out 1. That makes your life very possible.
Oh, I thought it was like 4 as in the 4 characters.
4 characters, 1 booklet. You can deliver it once. You could give it out every Sunday.
Yeah.
You've got to work out how to use it for you, but we're not going to make you take something 4 times. We're done with that.
Yeah.
Great. Right. It's officially a break. You have done brilliantly. By my clock, it's 11:36. I'm back with my coffee at 11:41. Go. Enough time. Oh, my headphones aren't in. I can't hear what's happening. There we go. Not enough time. Look, the great thing about Zoom though is you can run back from the loo as long as you remember to turn your camera off. That's always, and you can still keep munching. It's good to see you munching. Well done. Barnaby's got his coffee. Janine's got her sandwich. Emma, you keep on going. Who else have we got? Well done. Got your coffee. Good job, Corrie. Perfect. We're up. We're going. I am wildly excited. And look, you're going to have to decide if I'm rightly wildly excited. But I'm about to show you the video that I feel fairly confident is the best.
Ed.
Oh.
The John Lewis Christmas advert came out this morning at 8 o'clock. I have already watched it and I love it. However, dun, 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 we're about to get the Faith in Kids even better version because it's about Jesus, not an alien and a star.
Okay. So look, I'm going to give you the briefing so you know what to look out for on this video. 2 things to look out for. The first thing is Yvonne Lyon's soundtrack. So this is, you can Google her. She's a brilliant Scottish singer-songwriter. Her genius husband, DL. They sang this song for us. Listen. So you got to put headphones in, turn your volume up, do what you need to do to get the sound quality. It's breathtaking, first thing. Second thing, look out for the clever way that we've managed to say, join the adventure of Christmas with the shepherds. Okay, that's the 2 things you're looking out for and listening out for. Okay, so I go into here, brilliant. Share sound. My goodness, if I hadn't clicked that button, we all would have been in trouble. Great. This is absolutely brilliant.
While shepherds watch their flocks by night, all seated on the ground, an angel of the Lord came down and glory shone around. Fear not, said he, for mighty dread had seized their troubled mind. Glad tidings of great joy I bring
I know the people who made that. Isn't that brilliant? Isn't that amazing? Oh, goodness. My YouTube is still going. Maybe you can hear it. I'm watching a man shave. Go away. Oh, goodness, sorry. There we go. That was brilliant. My control of YouTube really isn't. He thought it was cool. The link is available. Can I quickly tell you a story? I have a friend who was in a meeting with an older man who's got a lot of importance and authority. And he said in this meeting out loud, have all of you heard of this thing called the YouTube? That happened in the last 6 months. Isn't that the best thing you've ever heard? So that video is available anywhere in the world on the YouTube. And Anita has put the link in the chat. You could play that like me on continuous repeat for more than an hour for free. Our gift to you. Amy, exactly, you're eating your Christmas cakes.
I'm totally Christmas ready.
Amy, do you think you could tell us a little about how you think we could go about reaching out to our communities this Christmas? And Amy, something that came up in our groups was we are thrilled to have some here who have churches without children who come on a Sunday. So it would be great if you could have a word, Amy, for maybe that situation as well. Over to you, Amy.
Is this over to me to answer that question or for everything that you wanted me to say?
For everything I wanted you to say.
Everything you wanted me to say.
I don't want you to say everything. I will after the first hour. Go, Amy.
Okay. So I think one of the key things for us to remember is last year we tried lots of different things. Lots of us did, and went out into our community and tried to think of how to do Christmas creatively, like Christmas Advent trails and walkabout things and outside singing. And this year, for a lot of us, we can get back to using our buildings and doing things, perhaps a little closer to how we used to do them before. But sit down with your suite of options and say, what did we do last year that was great? And what about doing things going out towards people instead of expecting people to come in towards us? Do we want to keep? And how do we want to try and say, what does going out towards people look like, as well as in welcoming people in? So how are we doing both of those things, going out as well as welcoming in? The Adventure of Christmas resources we've tried to give you is, we've said this in lots of ways, the book for families, those booklets about giving them out. So the idea of those is not, if this is the take-home sheet at the end of the Sunday lesson, this is the thing that's seeker-friendly that you could put in a bag with some chocolate sweets and the invitation filled in, and please would you come along to our family-friendly all-age service? Would you come along to this thing? I'd also gently say, don't overly panic about having to put on something mega and massive. And I'm speaking as a person who would be always slightly tempted to do that. So I can think back to various family services or all age crazy things that we've done. That, you know, I was once doing an all age service that was like everybody in and basically a working men's club that we'd hired. And there was like 200 people in the room and it was dreadful acoustics and it was long and thin. And basically the lady, enthusiastic lady at the front with props shouting about Jesus. So just take a step back to think, what is this for? What am I trying to achieve by it? And how am I welcoming people in and how am I going out? So I just want us to have a little moment. I'm going to take my silly hat off. Just want to have a little moment as we start to think about all age, all in, everybody welcome services. I just want us to have a little moment of confession together. I'm just going to put some words in the chat that I'd like us to all say as we acknowledge where we're at. Okay, here we are. In the spirit of a good old-fashioned Anglican service, here are our words of confession. I am afraid of all age services. Okay. The number of times that I have heard people say, I am afraid of all age services, because I think they're hard to do, because we've done them badly in the past, because people think they can't be done well. So I am afraid of all age services. Look at one another. Do we think this? Can we be real? Is there an element of, oh no, it could all go so horribly wrong? But it's okay. It's okay to feel that. It's just not okay to stay there. So I'm going to give us some words of confession to say out loud together in the chat as well. Here we go. I'm going to ask you to say, I believe that God is almighty and that, oh, I can't type, that church is his family. You ready? 1, 2, 3. I believe that God is almighty and that church is his family. Do we believe that? Do we believe that? If we believe that, then we can't stay afraid of welcoming everybody in. We can't stay afraid of saying, because we think it might go badly, we're going to stick with what we've done before. We're going to cut this group out. We're going to speak to only them. We're going to forget them. Let me give you a story. And I want you to think about this for yourself as well. When was your last family day out? When was your last successful family day out? And you're not allowed to play that, oh, I don't have kids game. You have been on a family day out. You've been on terrible ones. You've been on good ones. You've been with your own family. We've been with your friends' family. You've been with your nieces and nephews. We've all done this. Who here has been on a terrible family day out? Yep. Did that mean you stopped doing them? No. Who here has been on a really good family day out? What was the difference in that family day out? Let me tell you very quickly about a family day out I recently did. I have 4 children. My brother and his wife are over from the States. They have 2 kids and granny. All of us are going out for the day. The children range in ages from 15 down to 5. Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Nobody said, let's just figure it out on the day. We all said, we're going to plan it. We want to think about everybody. We're going to Dunham Massey, anybody in the Northwest, because there's something for the kids to do. They're going to climb on the logs. We're going to Dunham Massey because they do scones. And my sister-in-law, my American sister-in-law, loves scones and she wants to eat a scone in a cafe. Granny loves the garden. We can walk around the garden and the kids will be happy because they'll be doing a trail. She can see flowers. There are places to sit on a bench while people kick a ball. There are places to eat. We're going to take a picnic. We're going to prepare the picnic. I'm going to take a lot of snacks and we're going to finish with an ice cream. We're going to go to the toilet regularly and there are nice big clean toilets in lots of places. Drive there, drive home, snacks and good things to listen to in the car on the journey. It was a good day out because we decided where we're going and we thought of something for everybody. You know how to plan good days out for a family. You know all those key ingredients that you need. Is there something for everybody? Is there somewhere for Granny to sit down? Is there a snack that people are going to enjoy? Is there a clear destination? Is there lots to do? And are we keeping it moving? You know how to do a good family day out that includes everybody. So you know how to do a service that includes your church family too. It's exactly the same principles. You decide, where are we going? Why are we going there? How are we going to know if it's successful or not? And what have we done along the way to keep it moving, to provide something for everybody? And how is this? It's always, Ed and I talk about this when we do stuff for, with families together at Word Alive. How is this like it's a train? What we're doing is a train. We're going to this destination. There's one big idea that we want to get across. And this train is keeping on moving. And we're saying the same thing at different slots. There's a break for people to stand up and sit down. There's singing that might help with the teaching, but also might just be a time for people to make a noise and move around a bit and have a break. And then we're back on this. This is our big idea. This is where this train is going. We're keeping moving. We're going to this destination. Obviously, what we've tried to do with our Advent resources is give you the bones of how to do it. We've done the donkey work to say, here is how we think you can get to our one big idea for each of our Christmas characters. And this is us giving you a plan of how we can see. If you don't know any other way to do it, here's the bones of keeping moving, keeping on idea, doing different activities, including everybody standing up, sitting down, keeping going. So that you can do the things that only you can do, which is work out, oh, in our setting, we don't know that song, but we love this one. We've got more older people, so they might not be able to hear that very well or understand that, but so we could tweak that. So feel free to work out, you're the geniuses at applying this to your communities and to your settings. But we've tried to say, here are the principles of what it looks like worked out of a family day out that includes everybody that's going towards the destination, teaching everybody how to know and love Jesus better. In terms of how to use that in your own communities, I would say, think about how to invite people in and think about how to take stuff out. And I'm not even going to say more than that, because the minute I start to say, do it with this or do it with that, or do it with a walk around or do it with a doorstep delivery, everyone gets stuck on that. So I want you to think about how you could do it. Invite people in and take the message out. One last thing on sharing with people in church together. We really strongly want families together and the whole church family together. I don't mean let's just talk to families. I mean, let's remember that church is a whole family. And just as encouragement on that point, I remember speaking to some lovely, godly older people at our church, and they were sitting at the back and used to drive me crackers because they would sit at the back, but then they couldn't hear and they couldn't see. So me being me, I go and say, guys, every time you say you can't hear and you can't see, but you sit at the back. So please come and sit here at the front and then you'll be able to hear and you'll be able to see. And this lovely godly gentleman who's now with the Lord said to me, but I can sit and be okay, even if I can't hear and even if I can't see and the kids can't. So if I sit at the back so the kids can sit at the front, I can sit still, even if I can't see and even if I can't hear. And I can see that they are listening and I can see that they are loving being here. So I was never cross with him again for sitting at the back, but I did say, wow, you're right. That is what loving one another looks like. And if you are sitting there, loving that they are here and praying for them, that's brilliant. And can we try and think of a moment in our services when we are welcoming everybody? Not by saying, if you're a granny here today, you're welcome. If you're a teenager here today, you're welcome. If you're a child here today, you're welcome. But by dropping it in, valuing one another, saying to the kids, isn't it brilliant that we've got older people here who can show us what it looks like to live for Jesus your whole life. They've been trusting Jesus for a really long time. We've got stuff to learn from them. When you say to the older people, isn't it great that the teenagers are here? Guys, thank you for bearing with us, even though we're not cool. We're so pleased to see you. Kids, don't worry about making a noise. If you can try and listen, that would be great, because we struggle to listen when you're so enthusiastic. Just valuing one another, loving one another, being together. So some family days out are terrible, and no doubt some all-age services that you've been involved in or even led yourself are terrible, and that's okay. Just learn from it and try and do it better next time and trust God. I came to faith after a sermon that a man preached where in the middle of it he swore because he forgot what he was doing. I was the 5-year-old in the church who then went, I didn't remember that bit. I remember the other things he said. But he lost track and went, oh, and then hid behind the pulpit. I was the 5-year-old. This is not a joke. I was the 5-year-old in the service that went home and prayed with her mum that night and trusted the Lord. So you might think it's a car crash. God can still use it. Don't aim for a car crash. I'm done.
You heard it here first. Don't aim for a car crash, but it might be a car crash, and that's okay. Amy, thank you very much. I love the therapy that's happening on chat. Guy is fearful of losing control, but other people are reassuring Guy. Thanks for that mutual love that's happening. Amy, thank you for that. People are very encouraged, Amy, by what you've said. Let me give one answer to those amongst us who have no families normally in their church. But I think this is the fact for everyone. It is true that at Christmas we expect guests to come. We've struggled to see them much in January and February. So my only wisdom on that is let's prepare ourselves to love people incredibly when they arrive. Let's not just give them a warm welcome like we do in church by shaking hands, but let's work out how, who in my church lives near you? How can they see you again? How can we love you in January? What can we plan for January to offer you when you arrive? Let's get beyond a warm welcome. Let's get, I want to use avoid the words like freaky love, but I really mean that, I guess. Let's love them to the point, no, Amy's wincing. Let's love them to the point they want to see us again and we want to see them again, okay? Now, I wanted to say a little about Faith in Kids. We have a target that by Christmas, we would love 50 people to start supporting us financially and in prayer. Our goal is 50 people to support us. It won't have escaped your notice that there are more than 50 of you here. We know that Christ loves a willing giver, so I'm not about to bully you. I am asking on behalf of the children and families we are seeking to serve, because we long for them to live for Christ. This session is possible because so many others give generously. You have paid to be here. I appreciate it. That's just to cover the costs of making it happen, not to cover the costs of the team working hard. When you download the Adventure of Christmas resources, you'll see they took 8 people to produce. Those people are spread around the globe. We think we're gathering together the best gifted people we can to write these resources. I do feel delighted when I see people comment on Amy's wisdom. Amy's a part of the team because she inspires people to reach families. We have chosen to provide all those resources for free. To keep doing that, we need more people to join us on the journey so other parents and churches can access these. The Good Book Company, they have to earn a living. So those books, the Advent calendar, you have to pay for them. But actually, Faith in Kids has paid for the Advent calendars because the Good Book Company couldn't make the finances work. I'm sure we'll make our money back because people want to buy them. But it's our ability to offer the Good Book Company the chance to get those printed at our expense because people give to us. Our vision is to equip and support the whole ecosystem around the child. That is you, those people who lead children's ministry, that is the parents, that is the church leaders. So children can be raised to trust Christ eternally. That's a big vision to see culture change in our churches. So that vision Amy just gave us is happening. We are working on our most ambitious resource yet in the coming year. In the last week, it's been sticky as we've tried to work out how to fix some of the problems with it. We've never spent so much money on a single resource. That's why we're having a push before Christmas for 50 new givers. I'm being secretive about it because we'll be having a huge launch. You will be the first to know because you are the first people we go to with everything. Today, we are launching the Adventure of Christmas downloads. This is the first time we have shown that video. You won't have found it on our social media channels. We take everything to you at the big day out first because we do believe you're the hub of what is happening. You link parents and church leadership teams. If you think what we are doing to serve you in particular is worthwhile, please really start supporting us. We leave it entirely up to you. It means the world that you are with us. That's what giving to us means. If you could give 5, 10 or 20 pounds a month, it's just so encouraging to build that support. The link will be going into the chat. Anita will be on that. If you want to give directly instead of through that link, you can just email Anita at info@faithinkids.org. Any questions, send them to Anita. We'd love to hear how we can help you to give. Now, some of you are asking, if you want to put these things on, can you get hold of the graphics? Can you get hold of the video as a download instead of on YouTube? So we've got our friends from Go Chatter to answer some of those questions. They're going to partner with us in getting these resources out to you. So not the teaching resources, but the graphics, the visuals, and the videos. Dan, can you just shout hello, unmute yourself?
Hello. Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
I can. Dan, just introduce yourself and a bit about what Go Chatter is trying to do, and then off you go.
Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you so much. Amy, I can definitely feel the same sort of scared about doing all age services. And maybe some of you feel scared about the idea of making a video or putting together graphic designs and stuff like that. And maybe you're comfortable doing all that, but maybe you just, frankly, you're busier doing other things that you should be doing rather than making videos. At Go Chatter, we would love to release you to make, to spend your time writing talks or doing pastoral conversations or running events rather than sat behind a computer making a video. And that's essentially what we do. We enable church ministries to make video content or static images. And we also have a part of the website where churches can download lots of useful videos. One of the joys last year was in January, we sent around a survey to say to people, well, look, how did you find using our resources last year? And one of the ladies that used it said something along the lines of, nobody could believe that an 80-year-old granny had made this video. So we try to make our tool really useful, really easy to use, and really quick. And so it was useful for her in terms of making some flyers, some posters. She had a video that they played at the start of their service. It was a Christmas themed service. And they also had sort of an intro and an outro video as well. And they had some videos and some images that they put together and they tried to put out on Facebook and on social media. So they had a really good stab at things. I just want to share my screen and show you how we're hoping to support the ministry that you're involved with this Christmas, particularly, and particularly launching off the back of that amazing video. So I'm just showing my screen there. You should just see, this is not the pack that we're pulling together with Faith in Kids, but this will just give you an idea. What we've got here is the Joy to the World Christmas bundle. And you can use our custom tool to change any of the text in here. You could change it to hope or peace this Christmas. You can create banners, posters, flyers, PowerPoint stuff, a template for your YouTube header. And then this is just showing the video. And here we've got a bit of a description on how it all works. When somebody purchases it, they download a PDF guide, which helps them to use it. Now, if I just flip over to my PowerPoint, I wonder whether you're still seeing that. Ed, can you guys see my, I don't think you can. I'm going to stop sharing. Yep.
Go,
gotcha.
Dan, we're all with you. We're all
You're all with me. Yeah, thank you. I'm just going to share my, I don't use Zoom much, actually. I use Google Meets. That's my excuse. So this is what we hope that it will look like. We are currently working on this. We're a ministry that is very young, not necessarily in age. We've been going about 4 years, and we've been really excited to be joined by 5 Kickstart individuals in the last 6 months. They've been a great help, and one of the Kickstart individuals is working on some of these ideas. So you'd be able to go on our site and customize your own short 20-30 second video. You might say youth event or children's events. You might use the Adventure of Christmas as your title, or you might use something else, and then just create that video on our site, and upload it to your social media. Again, you could use one of our templates that helps you create a poster, or you could upload the video to your YouTube. And this would be a video that is maybe promoting your service, where you would be showing the Adventure of Christmas video, and maybe you'd be giving out the book or referencing the book. And, you know, maybe there'd be one of the banner as well. So we haven't yet finished creating those. We're working on them. I was working with my brother last night, about 10 o'clock on the designs, and they will be available at gochattervideos.com. But I'm sure that we'll let Ed know when they're available, and I guess he'll let you guys know.
And Dan, just to help us a little, do you think this is days, weeks away? If you had to say when you thought they could start seeing it on our social media, when do you think that would be?
I think I'm aiming for the end of next week.
Great. So today is Thursday. By next weekend, Dan will have available images, videos, customizable, based on our resources. So if you want, in other words, so we've had an email saying we want to run a holiday club based on the adventure of Christmas. We need the images, we need the visuals, we want to make banners. Dan at Go Chatter is the place to go for that. And he'll be working closely with us so he gets what you need so that your church can put this on service sheets, can put this on banners, can put this on slides. And you can be that church where people say, who's your graphic designer? And you say, it's called Dan. And the artist is Alex. Thank you very much. Dan, is that all from you?
That's all. Thanks. It's a joy to be involved, and it's great to. I see a few faces that I recognise as I look through. So I hope these resources really are a blessing to you guys.
Great. Thank you, Dan, very much. Now we're going to a breakout group for the final time. This will only be 6 minutes. So I guess you're going to the breakout group now. You've got 3 options. One is, what have you missed? What are you confused by? One is one next step to work on. Most of us can only take one idea away. Most of us can only work on one thing. So have you got one thing to take away, or do you want to pray together? So if it goes silent, one of you just say, let's pray, and something good will happen because you're brothers and sisters. Okay, 6 minutes, the last. This is probably the last time we'll advertise this. I am running some sessions, 5 afternoons in London. I still wonder if we could do it on Zoom. It's a possibility. I think you should email us if you're not in London and you want this, because I think it has moved to Zoom. On Sunday school, children's talks and all age talks. I am going to put the link for booking that in the chat. But if you just want to know more details, that's why you would go to info@faithinkids.org. That's where you go for any questions, okay? But in the link right now, I am going just to put the booking link in, okay? That's the booking link. And I am going to, I wish I had thought of this earlier. I'm going to find out if people can book into that on Zoom now that I know it is actually on Zoom, okay? That's not very helpful. We'll make that, we'll make a fuss on social media when I've worked out the answer to that. We say this every time. I'm sorry if you're bored. If you are the leader of children's ministry in your church, that doesn't need to be your paid. It doesn't need to be a role on a business card. It just needs to be the person where the buck stops. You could be the vicar, you could be the church administrator. We just want one contact in each church because we try and post you things first when they arrive. We send you a very limited number of emails. We just want to know your name, your church, and your postal address. And then we'll get your email address because we don't post stuff out to anyone else except you. So for instance, we've posted out a copy of the Adventure Christmas as a gift to these people, okay? And then finally, if you're in South Africa, you can do that to Paula because she's our International South Africa branch. Okay. The chat will be emailed to you afterwards, edited down, so you get this long list of links and people's wisdom and insights. That will go to you. I believe we are there. We have 3 minutes left for anyone to shout out what I've forgotten. Amy first, Paula, what have I forgotten? Anita, questions in the chat?
You've forgotten to tell everybody that they're absolutely amazing, that God has them and that they can do it.
Amy, could you please pray that something relevant like that? Thank God for them. Off you go.
Heavenly Father, thank you that you have not left us, but you came to earth. Thank you for Jesus, who became like us so that we could become sons and daughters of God. Thank you that as your children, you do not leave us, that you love us, that you're with us, and that you want to grow your family. And we pray that you would remind us again of what is true, remind us again of how big you are, and remind us again that with you, we can do small things well and be brave to do big things too, because you are a God with a great big heart to draw more people into your family. Inspire us with the good news of Christmas, help us to be brave and take a step towards those in our community with the good news of him. For Christ's glory, amen.
Amen. Hallelujah. I have one small thing to say. Thank you, Anita, for reminding me. We are doing a market research project on our next massive resource that we're working on that I'm telling you very little about. And we need a range of people. And the ones we're stuck on, perhaps unsurprisingly, are the children's ministers and church leaders who don't know much about us. So unsurprisingly, those people who like us have been the most willing to sign up and say, I'll give you an hour to help you understand if what you've produced is any good or not. We need some church leaders and children's ministers who are either a bit familiar with us or have never heard of us. So if you could persuade one person like that, probably, you know, it would help if they're from churches with children, and it would help if they're about Jesus and the Bible. But otherwise, we just want to hear their opinions. Denomination doesn't matter. Place in the country doesn't matter. Anita is putting a link in the chat for a link you could send them to. Is that making sense? So there is a form for them to fill in, so we know that we can contact them. Everyone is thanking us very much, and everyone is telling us stuff. Thank you. If you need to go, info@faithinkids.org for that link for market research. But if you know someone who's never heard of us, but is quite nice, we would love them to be in a short market research moment for us. Thank you very much for joining us. You are so encouraging. Our time has been brilliant. There, Anita has just put the link in there for church leaders or kids ministry leader for you to give them, if that makes sense. Please hang around afterwards for questions or to ride that great roller coaster of post big day out emotional excitement. Okay, thank you very much.
And Ed, hello to everyone who's watching on Catch Up on YouTube.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know where you live, and I'm tempted to ask you to email Amy to know geographically where you are.
I love getting an email about, 8 weeks after we've done these things from someone who's just watched it. So please email me. It's encouraging.
You're asking when the next big day out is. Well done, Kate. I don't know, but it's definitely going to be next term. And I wish I could give you a date, but believe it or not, we don't know.
Isn't it normally vaguely March?
Vaguely March. That's helpful. Put that in your diaries. Amy and I are now just talking. You can now leave unless you want to hear more of Amy and I just talking.